Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to talk about something you experience every single day, praise. Now, we usually think of it as just a nice thing to say, right? A gift. But what if it's also a tool, or a test, or sometimes even a trap? We're about to learn how to decode praise so you can use it for more than just good communication. You can use it for social self-defense. Yeah, let's just be real for a second. Not all praise is a gift. Some of it is bait, designed to get your guard down. Some of it is a passive-aggressive jab hiding in plain sight. And you know what? Some of it is just the friendly opening to a request that's going to absolutely ruin your weekend. Our goal today is to master the difference and turn this whole interaction into a real strategic advantage. Okay, so let's start with the root of the problem, what we call the ego trap. See, when someone praises you, your brain gets a nice little hit of dopamine. It feels great. But here's the catch. That feel-good rush can actually dial down your critical thinking. You become more agreeable, more open to whatever comes next. And you better believe that skilled manipulators know this. They use praise like a little bit of social anesthesia, getting you to relax right before they make their move. So, how do we fight back? Well, the goal is to enjoy that nice dopamine hit without completely switching off our internal radar. The strategy we're going to use is a simple two-step process. First, you become a detective. You decode the real intent behind the words. And second, once you know what you're actually dealing with, you pick the perfect response from our strategic playbook. And here is your very first tool, the praise matrix. Think of this as your instant diagnostic filter. Before you even think about responding to a compliment, you quickly run it through this matrix. By looking at things like how specific it is, the timing, the tone, you can figure out pretty fast if you're dealing with authentic appreciation, some vague flattery, hidden sarcasm, or just, a simple social pleasantry. This is your first line of defense. All right, let's start with the best case scenario. You've decoded the praise and it's totally genuine. Awesome. So, now what? The absolute worst thing you can do is deny it or brush it off. The best response is to use a really powerful three-step technique we call the ACE method. Think about it. When you deflect a genuine compliment by saying, "Oh, it was nothing," you're not actually being humble. You're kind of insulting the other person's judgment. It's like you're telling them, "Wow, your standards must be pretty low if you're impressed by this." It just makes the whole thing awkward and shrinks your own value. The right way? Accept it and then share the credit. And that brings us to the ACE formula. It's a simple three-step method: appreciate, credit, and extend, that will completely change how you handle positive feedback. It lets you accept praise gracefully, show some humility without deflecting, and even spin a single compliment into a brand new opportunity. Let's break down each part. So, A is for appreciate. And this part starts before you even say a single word. It's all about your nonverbal cues. Just remember the eye, mouth, heart rule. First, make direct eye contact. Don't stare at your shoes. Second, give them a real, genuine smile. And third, this is the important part, internally, just let yourself feel good about it. Don't push it away, actually absorb the compliment. Next up is C for credit. Now, this is the magic key to accepting praise without sounding like you're full of yourself. You share the spotlight. You don't say, "I didn't do anything." Instead, you say, "Thank you. The team was absolutely essential for this." You can give credit to a mentor, your colleagues, or hey, even the hard work you put in yourself. And finally, E for extend. Don't let the conversation just die after you say thank you. Use that positive momentum. Turn the compliment into a new conversation. You could ask for feedback. That shows you have a growth mindset. You could share some useful info. That builds a connection. Or you can affirm your commitment to the future, which shows you're always thinking ahead. Okay, so the ACE method is perfect for the good stuff, for authentic praise. But what happens when your internal radar starts pinging? When a compliment feels less like a gift and more like a setup? Well, now it's time to build our defensive playbook. All right, now we're getting into the trickier stuff. We're going to focus on two really common types of problematic praise. There's manipulative flattery, which is almost always a runway for a big request. And then there's passive-aggressive sarcasm, which is basically an attack wearing a compliment costume. The principle for handling flattery is actually pretty simple. Take the bait, but release the hook. The bait, of course, is the compliment. Go ahead, accept that part graciously. But the hook is that big, unreasonable request that's always trailing right behind it. Your job is to surgically separate the two. Acknowledge their kind words, but then deal with their request as a totally separate thing. And the technique we use for this is called the thank you stop. So when someone is just laying the flattery on super thick, you simply say, "Thank you, I really appreciate that." And then you pause. That silence is absolutely crucial. It creates this psychological wall between the compliment and whatever they're about to ask. After that beat of silence, you can address their request on its own terms, free from any sense of emotional debt. Now, what about sarcasm? This is just passive aggression in disguise. The person doing it wants you to get defensive so they can hit you with the classic, "Whoa, relax, it was just a compliment." The most powerful countermove is to simply refuse to play their game. We use what's called the innocent shield. You take their words at face value, completely ignoring all the venom packed underneath. So let's just imagine this. You walk into a meeting right on time, and a coworker who's known for being a little difficult says, "Wow, on time today, impressive." The clear message here is that you're usually late, right? They're poking you, trying to get a reaction. So instead of getting all defensive, you deploy the innocent shield. You just hit them with a bright, genuine smile and say, "Thanks for noticing. I had a really productive morning." See what you did there? You accepted their compliment literally, which totally diffuses the attack. And now, the passive-aggressive person is just left looking kind of foolish because their little hidden jab just whiffed. Okay, theory is great, but let's put these ideas to the test in a high-stakes, real-world scenario that I think a lot of us have faced, that last-minute request on a Friday afternoon. We're going to call this one the overtime trap. Just picture this. It is 4:55 p.m. on a Friday. Your boss calls you into their office and starts laying on the praise really thick. You know, you're the most dedicated person on this entire team. Now, it feels good, but this is exactly when your detective radar should be screaming. The timing is the dead giveaway. Praise that comes right before a huge request, especially at a terrible time, that's a massive red flag. This isn't genuine praise, it's a transaction. Now, the knee-jerk reaction when you're caught in that ego trap is to just say, "Okay, sure, I'll do it." But the smart response uses our principles. First, you acknowledge the praise. "Thank you so much for the trust." That validates your boss. Then, you calmly state your boundary and you negotiate. "Given my plans for the weekend, would it be okay if I deliver this first thing Monday morning?" You're not refusing, you're problem solving while protecting your own time. Wow, we've covered a ton of ground, from decoding someone's real intent to these very specific verbal tactics. So let's pull it all together into a final playbook that you can start using like today. So here it is, your complete praise playbook. It all starts with being aware. Always remember the ego trap. Next, you diagnose the situation with the praise matrix. Then, you respond. For the genuine stuff, use the ACE method. For flattery, you separate the bait from the hook. And for sarcasm, you bring up that innocent shield. You master these 5 things, and you've mastered the entire interaction. And that really brings us to our final thought here. Praise is just a constant in our lives, at work and everywhere else. And up until now, maybe you've been a passive recipient. But with these tools, you are now an active participant. So the next time you are praised, ask yourself the question on this slide. Because now, you know the answer. You are.